Liz Griner, this is Sandy Wargo. Please respond to On the Scene.
Copy that, Sandy. I'm en route. Hi, welcome to our show this month. Hope you enjoyed our show last month, and we sure welcome you back this month. I'm Liz Griner.
And I'm Sandy Wargo, and welcome to
On the Scene.
Today we're filming here at Station 2 in Novato Fire District, and we hope that you get a chance to take a look at some of the things that we want to share with you today regarding senior safety. And some of those topics are...
We have some frauds and scams to go over, maybe some telemarketing schemes that directly target senior citizens.
Also, we're going to be covering CPR,
Great.
AED, and Liz is going to show you a little bit about some safety regarding vehicle theft and what you can do to take a look inside your car before you get in.
Right. When you're out and about, there's a lot of things you should do in the community. So let's get started.
Something.
I did. So let's get started. So senior citizens are targets for a lot of con men out there. They know that most of you have your nest eggs put away, and they try and tap into all that you have. There's some things that you can do when you get those calls or you get that mail or even email, and that's how they target a lot of our residents. So when you get those calls, they're going to be very sincere on the phone. They want to gain your trust and your confidence in them when they call. They could even call and say, how's the weather? How's your family? Because that's what they're trying to get, for you to be really confident in what they might want to sell you or that you've won. A lot of the times they'll tell you that you've won a great prize and it's only good for today, because what they don't want you to have time to do is think about it. Most legitimate companies, if you take the time and you ask them to send you the information so you can look it over, they have no problem doing that. The con man wants to keep you on the phone for as long as he can to try and get you to give him any of your personal information, such as bank accounts, social security numbers, anything that they can get to be able to get any of your assets. So if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So please keep that in mind. Great. So I brought some things with me today that we do offer and some programs that we offer at the police department. And you can just call us right up and we'll come out and we'll speak to a community group on any type of senior safety. What I brought with me today, Sandy, if you wouldn't mind holding that, I have a DVD that you can borrow at any time for any of your meetings or community groups, and it talks about financial abuse of seniors, scams and frauds that might target seniors. It's about 17 minutes in length. You can just give me a call and come on in and borrow it. Or I can also come out to your group or organization and give you a short program on it. What I also brought is something to make you a better consumer. We have this at the police department, and it's called the Senior Scam Busters Kit. This is a wonderful kit, Sandy, that was developed by the Department of Consumer Affairs to make you a smarter consumer out there. Some of the things that are in the kit, which I wanted to show you, before hiring a contractor for your home, here's some questions to ask and things to do. So please take a look at that. Auto repairs is another area where you might want to ask certain questions before you go in to get your car repaired. It's a good idea, before your car needs repair, pick a repair shop ahead of time. That way you've already asked the questions and researched the location. Electronic repairs and laptops and computers, big repairs, always a good idea to have some questions ready when you need to go in and get those repaired. All the other things in here, of course, basic facts about telemarketing, what we went over. Do not give any personal information out to anyone that you don't know. But there's also some tips in here. Selecting a physician, some questions you should ask when you want to choose a physician. Also, drug use and generic drugs and the cost and ways maybe to lower those costs. There's lots of information in this kit to help you. So this kit, Sandy, I want to let you know and everyone else know, is free of charge.
Wow.
All you need to do is call or email the Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California. They'll send this kit out to you free of charge. I also have some available at the police department. You can give me a call or drop in, and please come by and pick one up. Maybe that you don't need it, but maybe you know a friend or a family member that might benefit from some of the information in here. So please give us a call and pick up the kit.
Do they make another one like this that would be not focused on seniors? Because this is really important.
Well, you know what? This, even though they made it just for seniors, this information in here can really be used for anyone.
It's great. Thanks, Liz.
Great, thank you. Sandy, now you have some things to show us on some senior safety today?
We do. We've got some things that we're going to cover regarding CPR and an AED, which is an automated external defibrillator. So check it out. I wanted to talk a little bit about CPR. We get a lot of calls about our CPR program. Our CPR program includes not only cardiopulmonary resuscitation, but also an AED component, automated external defibrillator. And I wanted to just go through a little bit about CPR so that you can recognize the signs to know if you needed to do CPR on an individual. One of the things you always want to check is, we call it a tap and shout. And we do a little tap and shout, hey, hey, wake up, to check to see if the person truly is unresponsive. What you're looking for is, if you can't wake that individual up, you should be calling us up. You should call 911 as soon as you find that you can't wake a person up. From there, you want to go ahead and open the airway. That's a head tilt, chin lift method. No longer do we put our hands underneath the neck and pull up on the neck. That puts a lot of strain on the neck from the weight of the head. So what we want to do is put our 2 fingers on the chin, hand on the forehead to tilt back. At that point, what's happening is the back of the neck, because the tongue has fallen all the way to the back of the throat, I've pulled the back of the neck away from the tongue and I've opened the airway. Sometimes that's all you need to do to be able to let that individual breathe, by opening the airway and giving them that opportunity. Another thing that you need to check is the letter B. So we did A, that's airway. The letter B would be breathing. We want to check to see if that individual is breathing. And how you do that is a look, listen, and feel. I'm going to put my ear down by the individual's mouth, still making sure the airway's open. I'm looking at the rise and fall of the chest to see if they're breathing. I'm listening for their breath in my ear, and I'm trying to feel their breath on my cheek. So I'm looking, I'm listening, and I'm feeling. If at that point I realize that the individual is not breathing, I need to immediately give 2 breaths. It's really important that you still leave the head tilted back when you go to give those breaths. I'm going to pinch the nose off. That way I'm making sure I'm getting all of my air into this individual's lungs, and I'm not letting any of the air release out of the nostrils. I'm going to form a really good seal around the mouth. And then I'm going to look, because I want to see that the chest rises up just a little bit. I'm going to give another breath. And then I'm going to look again. At that point, the chest should be puffed up just enough so that I know that there's oxygen in there. We give 2 breaths for a couple of reasons. I want to make sure I'm filling the lungs up with oxygen. But we all know that when we inhale, we're inhaling 21% oxygen, but when I breathe out, I'm breathing out 16% oxygen. So breathing out is there in, that's only 16% oxygen, so I want to make up the deficit. At that point, I'm going to check for circulation, so that would be the letter C. I'm looking at their face to see if they're still looking pale or if their skin color's coming back. It takes about 10 seconds for that oxygen to move around in the system to be able to regulate whether their skin color's coming back. I can also take a look at the lips. If the lips are blue or a very pale gray look, that would tell me there's no circulation. I can also look at the gums on an individual and see if their gums are a pink color or are they looking gray. Another thing I could check is the pulse, but a lot of times people have a difficult time finding individuals' pulse. So I wouldn't want you just to assume that the person is dead if you couldn't find a pulse. So you can check for a pulse, but also look for other signs as well. Once you determine I'm not too sure if there's circulation or not, there's one more thing you can do, and that's called a capillary refill. You can either pinch their cheek, which is the best place to pinch, or your fingerprint just to check and see, not during this situation of course, but you could check in a practice to see what capillary refill is. And when you press your own fingerprint, what you're doing is restricting the blood to the capillaries. Once you let go, your fingerprint will pop back up and the color will come in, and that tells you you have circulation. So you could do that on an individual's cheek just to check to see if they have circulation. Once you determine no circulation, you need to create circulation by massaging the heart. We want you to bare the chest so that you can find the correct location for the compressions. We get a lot of phone calls where people ask me, where would I do the compressions at? There's two ways that you can find a good place for your compressions. You can either follow the rib cage on an individual, but I need to show you. On the body, we have our rib cage where it meets, and right at the point there's a bone. It's called the xiphoid process, and we're trying to avoid that bone. And so we need to make sure that we're 2 fingers past where our fingers meet. If we did our compressions on the xiphoid process, what would happen is we could actually break that little pointy bone off. It can float around and, hey, puncture a lung, and now we're going to be in some bad situations. So we want to make sure that we're 2 fingers past where our fingers met at the tip of the rib cage. Or I can follow the nipple line to the center. That's also a good place for me to press my hand. I'm trying to use the base of my palm so that I have more pounds of square inch onto that. So I'm going to press my hands together and lock them in place. But what's really the key is getting up onto your knees. This is important. If I stay leaning back, I'm going to have a lot more difficult time doing my compressions. But also, I want to use the weight of my body to do the compressions. So here, I'm locking my arms, and I'm using my body to do my compressions to be able to massage the heart. I would do 30 of these. So let's say I'm at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I would tilt, pinch, 2 breaths. And I would go right back to my spot. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 27, 28, 29, 30. I would continue doing my CPR on this individual until a couple of things happen. If this individual starts to wake up, maybe they're coughing, I would immediately want to get them over to the side, because usually people who come out of an unresponsive state vomit. I want to make sure that I get this person onto their side so whatever's coming out, they're not going to end up choking on it and obstructing their airway. I could also stop if the paramedics arrive. Remember, I called 911 as soon as I did my tap and shout, and I couldn't wake them up. So as soon as the paramedics arrive and they're tapping me on the shoulder and telling me, okay, you can go ahead, move back, and they'll take over for me, that would be great. I can stop if I'm extremely exhausted. There's no rule saying that you have to keep going and going and going. We've had lots of people say that they've done CPR out camping and out in the middle of nowhere, and they felt awful that they had to stop because they were exhausted. And that's okay. If you're the only one, you're doing the best that you can to save that person's life. And the last reason that you can stop is if an AED comes on scene. And I want to show you that now. Along with our CPR program, we also have an AED program. This AED, Automated External Defibrillator, is under our Fire Foundation program where we're able to donate AEDs to the community. They cost about $1,800, but we think that they're so important. We want to make sure that they're accessible in the community. There's about 78 AEDs out in the community right now, and we know that they're making a huge difference in helping save lives. The national percentage for survivability of a heart attack, 42%. And we just got our statistics back for Novato, and it's 87%. That's a huge difference on survivability. And we know that has a lot to do with 911, with people learning CPR, with people knowing how to use an AED and having them at their school or their place of business or even in their home. So all of these things are leaning the deck in your favor for survivability of a heart attack. I wanted to show you a little bit about these AEDs because they're pretty cool. It's a computer. Okay, so the AED is pretty cool because what it's looking for is fibrillation in the heart. That's why it's called an AED. The D standing for defibrillation. So what will happen is when the pads are put on an individual, and if you take a look, it shows a picture on the pad, so pretty easy to put on. inside this pouch, I have some pads. They're connected to a center location where you would have done your compressions for CPR, but you have an upper right and a lower left pad. There's a sticky backing on there, so you would pull the sticky off, and that way you can place the pads directly on the individual. At that point, the AED would start doing its assessment. It would do a reading, so we wouldn't be touching the patient because we want to make sure that it gets a good read on the individual. The AED will run through its cycle, taking a look at whether the heart is fibrillating or not. If the heart is fibrillating, which would be that quivering mode or electrical activity, then the AED would engage to say, yes, you need to press the button. You will have to press the button to be able to deliver the shock, or as we call it, medical treatment, which is great. So I wanted to show a little bit about how that works so that you get an idea. Lots of folks think, well, I don't want to use an AED because what if it gives a medical treatment or shock and they didn't need it? And that's not how it's going to work. It's only going to engage the button on the AED if it reads that the heart is in that fibrillating mode and that the heart would benefit from it. If the heart was completely stopped, the AED would not allow you to press the button. So this is the really nice feature on AEDs. So I wanted to show you there's a little window here, and in this window has a check mark. The check mark tells me, yes, the batteries are charged and it's ready to go. It doesn't mean that it's on. I actually would have to turn it on by the button. And then it's going to do a little read for me. It's going to do a check all the way around. And at that point, you're going to hear...
Okay, check responsiveness. Check pulse. Attach electrode pads.
And this is where my AED will continue telling me right now, because I'm not putting the pads directly on the individual since we're just talking about it. But he'll keep asking me to put those electrode pads right onto the individual so that it can continue on with its read. Once it reads whatever the heart's doing, it will audibly tell me what to do next. This is what I love about these AEDs. It's not something that you have to do a read on and check to see, do they need it? It's not on your shoulders to make that decision. The AED makes the decision for you and lets you know whether you need to press the button. The button that you would press would light up here, and it would tell you to press the button. At that point, you would make sure all the people that are standing around or any other individuals that are near the unresponsive person that you are doing CPR on, that you're away from them and not touching them. That way you can make sure that the electrical shock or medical treatment is going directly on that individual. It's a great item to have. We're so happy that we have this program here in Novato, and I hope that if you have any more questions that you give us a call. One of the things that we're really concerned about is your safety at home. We know in the evening you usually get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, but it's important that you have some kind of lighting so that you can see where you're going. We usually find people who trip and fall in the middle of the night, and we find them in the morning and they're really unstable and need to go to the hospital, and we want to try to prevent that. So it's important that you use some kind of tap light. A tap light can be installed along the wall, and you can just tap it on your way into the restroom and tap it on your way out. This way, your area will be illuminated, whether it's a small LED or just a plastic tap light, to show you exactly where you need to go so that you're not tripping and falling. Another good thing to be able to have in your restroom are some grab bars. Grab bars are really important on your way into the restroom or stepping out of the tub or into the tub. This way you can have a nice firm support, you won't slip and fall, and you'll be more independent at home. Your safety is important to us.
Hi, I wanted to go over a little bit about out and about safety. When you're out and about, when you're shopping, I know a lot of women, especially when they have their purse, they carry it down here and they swing it next to their body. As they're maybe on their cell phone or they have a music player or iPod, maybe you're not as alert as you should be when you're out and about. Always please try and remember, carry your purse close to your body when you're out. And when you go outside of a store and you start to approach your vehicle, it's always a good idea to please take your keys out before you exit the business that you're in. Have your keys ready and in your hand as you approach your vehicle. And as you're approaching your vehicle, it's always a good idea to just scan underneath the vehicle just to make sure that there's nobody hiding under there. And as a lot of vehicles now, you have automatic locks and you can unlock them as you're walking towards your vehicle. As you get close to your vehicle, it takes only seconds to please scan the back seat of your vehicle before you enter. And as you enter your vehicle, once you get in your vehicle and you put your purse to the other side, I want you to close the door and lock the vehicle before you put your seatbelt on. It's always important to be able to get out of the car as quick as you can if you need to once you're inside. So once your door is shut and it's locked, then go ahead and engage the seatbelt and you're ready to go. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show this month. A couple reminders. Be more alert when you're out and about and hang up on those telemarketers. It's not rude, it's shrewd.
And I think that was really good information that folks needed to know today.
Great.
Also,
Sandy, and your information was really great on CPR. I was wondering, do you guys have classes here that the community can take?
We certainly do. If you're a web type person, you'd like to go on our internet, you can check our website to see what classes we have available. You can also call our line at 878-2623. We hold classes every third Thursday evening. It's at Station 1. The cost is $15, and that includes CPR for infant, children, and adults, as well as airway obstruction for infant, children, and adults. And it includes that AED as well. So you'll be certified for 2 years under the National Safety Council.
That's a great program, Sandy. Hopefully everyone will sign up for that. Well, Sandy, we did have a question. We do have a website, and we encourage you to either call us or email us with any questions about past shows or this show that you might have. Last show, we did have a question about fire extinguisher, Sandy, so if you'd like to answer that.
I heard Ron called, right?
He did.
And so I want to address this to you, Ron, because I think a lot of people do call in regards to questions on fire extinguishers, and your question was whether if it was not directly in the gauge or not. Fire extinguishers should last about 10 years if they're not used, and so it's okay to take a look at the gauge. If it's slightly off, it's probably still pretty good. There is a law, though, an ordinance actually, that fire extinguishers should be serviced every 6 years. So if yours is over 6 years, you could take a look in the yellow pages and call any fire extinguisher company under fire extinguishers in the yellow page. And you can have them come out to your home. They're usually portable. They're in a van. They come out to your home. They'll tear it apart. They'll clean it out. They'll put new powder in and then go ahead and add a little bit more pressure to your extinguisher and seal it back up for you. So it's a really good idea to take a look in the yellow pages for that information on servicing your extinguisher. Every year you should take a look at your extinguisher and make sure that it's still charged. We like to have people take a look and make sure that you're ready to go. You've got the collar on the top that gives you the date, and also there's some other things like a tag might be included. On this one, since I had it in my vehicle, the tag's not on there right now. But take a look at the charge. I also want to let you know I had a lady, her extinguisher was 30 years old. I was at an extinguisher training and she brought it and she said, "Do you think this thing really works?" And I said, "Well, let's shoot it off and see." And sure enough, we opened up the gauge, we pressed the handle, and it shot off like it was brand new. So you never know. I would always take a look at the gauge first, though. So Ron, thanks for your question. We really appreciate it, and keep all those questions coming for us.
And next month, we're going to be doing disaster preparedness. We're going to be showcasing Novato's Get Ready program for you to be prepared at home for a disaster.
We have a really great program here in Novato called the HEART program. It's Homeowners Emergency Action Response Team. And we're getting ready to put on a class soon. It's going to be in April. But if you're interested in more information on our HEART program, you can call me on the number below.
Great. Thanks for watching. See you next month.